My fiancé threw the ring at my face and called me a placeholder for her childhood crush. 2 years later, she crashed my wedding begging for me back. My fiancé hurled a $9,500 engagement ring directly at my forehead the night before our wedding, screaming that I was just a pathetic, boring placeholder while she waited for her childhood soulmate to return. So, I packed up my dignity, eventually married her lovely bridesmaid, and watched from my newly purchased home as karma handed my ex, a prison-bound abuser, zero bank balance, and a permanent spot in her mother's damp basement. All right, Reddit, grab a drink, pull up a chair, and get comfortable, because I am about to tell you the absolute wildest story of my life. I watched karma absolutely obliterate the woman who tried to destroy me, and the sheer audacity of her downfall is something that belongs in a movie. I, 35 male, spent 8 grueling months of overtime checks on an engagement ring that eventually got thrown at my face like a baseball. 8 months of staying late at the cybersecurity firm where I work, volunteering for every single weekend shift, skipping lunches, and budgeting like a madman to save an extra $50 here and there. It was a 2.5 carat white gold band. Nothing overly flashy or ostentatious, but it was solid, high quality, and cost me $9,500. My fiancée, Chloe, 33 female, sobbed uncontrollably when I proposed to her. They were good tears. The kind of tears that made me genuinely think I had actually done something right in my life. That I had found my person. We had been together for 4 years and had lived together for 2. We split the rent, split the utility bills, and even had a joint savings account for our future. It was completely normal, healthy couple stuff. I work as a cybersecurity architect, designing defense grids for corporate networks. We weren't filthy rich by any means, but we were incredibly stable. We made concrete plans like functioning adults who actually had their lives together. The wedding planning took an exhausting 10 months. Chloe handled the vast majority of it, and I showed up whenever I was needed. Approved the catering decisions, paid my half of the deposits, and did my part without complaint. Everything seemed absolutely perfect. My mother adored her. My best friends liked her. All the traditional relationship boxes were perfectly checked. The rehearsal dinner was on a Friday night. The actual wedding was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. About 40 of our closest friends and family members showed up to the beautiful, rustic venue for the rehearsal. The food was great, the speeches were nice, and the atmosphere was buzzing with excitement. So there I was, standing in the empty main hall of the venue, watching my fiancée throw a $9,500 engagement ring directly at my face. She didn't just toss it. She didn't hand it back politely. She threw a full-on, aggressive fastball right at my forehead. The rehearsal dinner had wrapped up about an hour prior. Most of the guests had completely cleared out and gone back to their hotels. It was just me, Chloe, and our exhausted wedding coordinator, Sarah. Sarah was going over the absolute last-minute details regarding the floral arrangements when Chloe suddenly cut her off mid-sentence. "I can't do this," Chloe announced to the empty room, her voice echoing off the hardwood floors. "I can't marry you, Leo." Sarah, the coordinator, completely froze. She looked like a deer in headlights. I just stood there, my brain completely misfiring, trying desperately to process what was happening in front of me. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "The wedding is tomorrow. Everyone is already here. My family flew in from across the country. I know when the damn wedding is," she snapped viciously, her eyes narrowing. "And I'm telling you right now, I can't go through with it. I don't love you. I never really did." That was the exact moment the ring came flying at me. It hit me square in the center of my forehead, hard enough to leave a stinging red welt. The heavy diamond bounced off my skull and clattered loudly across the polished wooden floor, rolling under a nearby chair. "You were always just a placeholder," she continued, her voice escalating into a theatrical shout. "You were someone stable and boring while I figured out what I actually wanted out of my life. And what I want is Julian." Julian was her childhood best friend, who had conveniently moved back to our city about 8 months ago. I slowly bent down, retrieved the ring from under the chair, looked at the glittering diamond for a fraction of a second, and then looked back up at the woman I had spent 4 years of my life with. "You're serious right now. You are dead serious." "Dead serious," she shot back, crossing her arms defiantly. "Julian and I have been talking every single day since he got back to town. We connect so deeply, Your pathetic, analytical mind could never possibly understand the bond we share. He gets me. He truly understands my soul. You're just safe. You're predictable. I settled for you because I thought that's what society told me I was supposed to want. But I don't want safe anymore. I want passion. Sarah, the wedding coordinator, he 20. He tried to excuse herself, clearly wanting to sink into the floor and disappear. Chloe immediately stopped her. No, stay, Chloe demanded. You need to hear this too, so you can cancel everything immediately. There is absolutely no wedding happening tomorrow, Chloe, I said slowly, trying to keep my heart rate from exploding out of my chest. We have been together for 4 years. We have lived together for 2. And you are standing here, the night before our $30,000 wedding, telling me that I was just a placeholder? Yes, that is exactly what I'm telling you, she said, looking incredibly smug, like she had just won a major debate. Julian is the one I should have been with all along. We were inseparable as kids. First loves never really die, you know? I'm finally choosing my own happiness. From his travel cage sitting in the corner of the room, Barnaby let out a piercing, mocking squawk. I had brought him along because I had a specialized avian vet appointment scheduled for him right after the rehearsal wrapped up. Barnaby is my 7-year-old umbrella cockatoo. He is incredibly intelligent, ridiculously loud, and he had absolutely never liked Chloe. She had tried to manipulate me into rehoming him at least 3 times during our relationship, claiming he was messy, annoying, and took up too much of my attention. I had flatly refused every single time. See? Chloe pointed an accusing finger at the birdcage. Even that stupid demonic bird knows I don't belong here. His name is Barnaby, I said flatly, the shock slowly morphing into a cold, hard anger. I don't care what his ridiculous name is. I hate that bird, and I hate this mind-numbingly boring life we've built together. Julian has passion. Julian has excitement and spontaneity. You have a corporate 401k, a predictable routine, and a stupid bird that won't stop screaming. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. I'll just give you 2 some privacy, she stammered, essentially sprinting out of the main hall. I genuinely couldn't blame her. So that's it? I asked, staring at the stranger standing in front of me. 4 entire years of memories, and you're just done because your childhood crush moved back to town and gave you a little bit of attention? He's not a crush, Leo. He is my soulmate. I should have never let him go in the first place. Choosing you was the cowardly safe option. I am done pretending that I even like you. I took a deep breath, slipped the $9,500 ring into my jacket pocket, and nodded. All right. She blinked, clearly taken aback. That's all you have to say? What? Were you waiting for this or something? What exactly do you want me to say, Chloe? Do you want me to cry? Do you want me to drop to my knees and beg you to reconsider? It's not going to happen. You made your choice. I am not going to humiliate myself competing with some romanticized fantasy you've built up in your head. Her face flushed a deep, angry red. You're not even going to try to fight for me? You're not going to try to stop me from leaving? Hard pass, I said coldly. I thought you would at least care enough to fight for us, she scoffed, sounding genuinely offended that I wasn't groveling at her feet. There is no us anymore, Chloe. You made absolutely sure of that. I walked over and picked up Barnaby's travel cage. I'm going home. You can stay at your mother's house tonight since you are so completely done with this boring life. Fine, she snapped. But I'm taking the bird. I stopped dead in my tracks and actually laughed out loud. The sound echoed in the empty hall. You are not taking my cockatoo. I paid for half of everything in our apartment. I deserve to take something from you, since you're being such an unfeeling jerk about this. Hand over the bird. No. She actually lunged forward and tried to rip the handle of the cage out of my grip. Barnaby went absolutely ballistic, screeching at the top of his lungs, his white crest flaring up aggressively as he flapped his wings against the bars. I quickly sidestepped her and pulled the cage out of her reach. Give me that stupid bird, Chloe screamed, lunging again. Are you completely out of your mind? I yelled back. This is my rehearsal dinner too. You don't get to kick me out and steal my pet. A security guard, a burly guy in his 50s, poked his head through the double doors, clearly alarmed by the screaming. Everything okay in here, folks? No! Chloe yelled, pointing at me with fake tears instantly welling in her eyes. He is trying to steal my bird! The guard looked at me. I looked at the guard. Barnaby looked at both of us, bobbed his head, and clearly squawked. Bad lady, it's my bird. I explained calmly to the guard. I've had him for 7 years. She just called off our wedding, threw her engagement ring at my head, and now she is trying to steal him out of pure, unadulterated spite. The guard's expression immediately shifted to one of profound exhaustion. He had clearly dealt with wedding drama before. Ma'am, if the bird is not yours, you need to leave the gentleman alone. This is insane, Chloe shrieked, stomping her foot like a toddler. I am the victim here. He is traumatizing me. The victim? I repeated, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You called off the wedding 12 hours before the ceremony, told me I was nothing but a placeholder, physically assaulted me with a piece of jewelry, and now you are the victim because I won't let you kidnap my parrot? You are making yourself look completely unhinged. I want that bird. Chloe made one final, desperate grab for the cage. Barnaby didn't hesitate. He lunged forward and bit her index finger through the metal bars. He didn't bite hard enough to draw blood or cause real damage, but cockatoo beaks are incredibly strong, and it was more than enough to make his point. Chloe screamed like she had just been stabbed. That demon bird attacked me. Call the police. You attacked his cage first, I pointed out dryly. The security guard physically stepped between us. All right, that is more than enough. Ma'am, you need to leave the premises immediately, or I will have you escorted out by law enforcement. You can't kick me out. I rented this space. Actually, my credit card is on the contract, I corrected her. I paid the deposit. Her face transitioned from red to a mottled purple. This is unbelievable. You are choosing a stupid bird over me? She aggressively snatched her designer purse off the table and stormed toward the exit, pausing only to deliver her final, venomous shot. You are going to deeply regret this, Leo. When you are sitting all alone in your sad, boring apartment with your screaming bird, you are going to realize exactly what you lost. Julian is twice the man you will ever be. Probably not, I replied. She slammed the heavy oak doors hard enough to rattle the decorative fixtures on the walls. The security guard let out a long breath and looked at me. You good, man? Yeah, I sighed, rubbing my temples. Thanks for the backup. I took Barnaby to his vet appointment, got his clean bill of health, and drove back to our apartment. Waking up the next morning was an absolute nightmare. I had 47 frantic text messages and 23 missed calls. The wedding was supposed to start at 3 p.m. It was currently 9 a.m., and my phone was having a complete meltdown. Chloe's mother, my mother, the bridesmaids, my groomsmen, the caterer, the photographer, every single person wanted to know what the hell was going on. I drafted one mass text message. The wedding is officially off. Chloe canceled it last night at the rehearsal venue. I am incredibly sorry for the massive inconvenience. I know travel and hotel deposits are non-refundable, but I will do my best to help with cancellation fees. Thank you for understanding. I hit send, turned my phone completely off, and walked into the kitchen to make breakfast. I had just cracked the second egg into the frying pan when someone started aggressively pounding on the apartment door. Leo, open the damn door. I need to get my stuff. It was Chloe. I unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door. She immediately pushed past me, practically sprinting toward the master bedroom. What exactly are you doing? I asked, following close behind her. I am getting my things. I am officially moving in with Julian today, and I need my clothes and my essentials. Fine, get your clothes and leave, that's it. I stood in the doorway of the bedroom, watching her every move, because I absolutely did not trust her. Barnaby was perched on my shoulder, making low, disapproving clicking sounds. Chloe started frantically throwing dresses and shoes into a massive duffel bag. Then, I watched her reach over and grab the expensive iPad Pro off the nightstand. That is mine, I said firmly. We shared it, she argued. I bought it with my own money. My name is on the digital receipt, and it's linked to my Apple ID. Put it down. She rolled her eyes dramatically but tossed it onto the bed. She then moved to the large oak dresser and started yanking drawers open. She pulled out her large velvet jewelry box. Where do you think you're going with that? I asked, stepping further into the room. These are my earrings and necklaces. Half of the expensive jewelry in that box I bought for you for birthdays and anniversaries. You are not taking the whole box. The stuff your mother gave you? Fine. Take it. The antique pearl set from my grandmother that I let you borrow for the gala last year? Not a chance in hell. You are being incredibly petty, she yelled. You called off our wedding 12 hours ago, told me I was a placeholder, and left me to deal with the fallout. I am being practical. Keep moving. She huffed in frustration, but started angrily sorting through the jewelry, leaving my grandmother's pearls and the expensive diamond tennis bracelet I bought her on the dresser. The entire time, I could see her eyes darting around the room, mentally calculating what else she could legally claim. She looked at my high-end gaming laptop, the noise-canceling headphones, and the expensive espresso machine in the kitchen. She stomped into the living room and pointed at the massive 5-inch OLED TV. "I'm taking the TV. Don't even think about it," I warned her. "I bought that TV. We bought it together. You chipped in exactly $50 2 years ago, so you wouldn't feel guilty. The $2,000 receipt is in my filing cabinet if you really want to argue about it." Barnaby bobbed his head and squawked loudly. "Shut up, you flying rat!" Chloe snapped at the bird. "Talk to my animal like that again, and you can leave this apartment with absolutely nothing but the clothes on your back," I said, my voice dropping an octave. She stood in the middle of the living room, fuming. She realized she wasn't going to win. "You know what? Keep everything. Keep your boring stuff in your boring, pathetic apartment. Julian has a fully furnished, gorgeous townhouse anyway. I don't need any of your garbage." "Great. The door is right behind you." She grabbed her heavy duffel bag and marched toward the exit. But right before she opened the door, she stopped and turned around. "I do want one thing." "What?" "The engagement ring. That ring belongs to me. I could sell it and use the money to help Julian decorate." I stared at her, genuinely astounded by her sheer audacity. "The ring? The $9,500 ring that you literally threw at my face while calling me a boring placeholder? You want that?" I was emotional. I wasn't thinking clearly. "You were thinking clearly enough to tell me you never loved me." "The ring stays with me. I bought it, you broke the engagement, legally and morally, it is mine." "That is not fair. You are not even going to use it." "Maybe I will," I shrugged. "Maybe I'll melt the white gold down and make a custom luxury nameplate for Barnaby's cage. Maybe I'll pawn it and go on a vacation. Either way, it is none of your business." She looked like she wanted to scream, but even she realized how ridiculous she sounded. "Fine," she spat venomously. "Keep your stupid ring. Keep your stupid bird. You are going to die alone anyway." She slammed the door so hard the framed pictures in the hallway rattled. I looked around my quiet apartment. Everything was exactly where it should be. The only thing missing was the toxic person who had just tried to rob me blind. My best friend Sam showed up an hour later carrying 2 massive bags of takeout food and a case of energy drinks. "Dude," he said, walking in and dropping the bags on the counter. What the actual hell happened? I spent the next hour filling him in on the absolute disaster of the rehearsal dinner, the ring throwing, the Julian revelation, and the morning apartment raid. Sam listened quietly, never interrupting, which is exactly why he is my best friend. When I finally finished venting, he just sat back, shook his head, and sighed. "She tried to steal the bird?" Sam asked, bewildered. "Yep. After calling me boring and saying she hated him. And then she demanded the ring so she could fund her new life with the guy she left you for?" "Exactly." Sam grabbed a burger from the takeout bag. "Brother, you didn't just dodge a bullet. You dodged an entire tactical nuclear strike. You were 18 hours away from being legally bound to a sociopath." Sam stayed with me for the rest of the weekend. We played video games, ate junk food, and completely ignored the outside world. When I finally turned my phone back on Sunday night, I had hundreds of notifications. People were demanding answers, offering unsolicited advice, and picking sides. But one text message completely stood out from the chaos. It was from Maya. Maya was one of Chloe's bridesmaids. "Hey, Leo. I heard what happened. That is incredibly messed up. And I am so sorry. If you ever need someone to vent to who won't judge you, I'm around." I showed the text to Sam. "Chloe's bridesmaid is reaching out." "Maya?" Sam asked. "The NICU nurse?" "Yeah, she's always been incredibly cool. I'm honestly not surprised she is checking in on you, instead of blindly following Chloe's toxic narrative." I texted Maya back a simple, "Thank you. I really appreciate it," and left it at that. I wasn't in the headspace to socialize. Update 1. The following month was a bizarre transition period. I had to painfully untangle my entire life from Chloe's. I canceled our tropical honeymoon, ate the cost of several non-refundable vendor deposits, and boxed up the last of her lingering possessions. According to the relentless town gossip, mostly funneled through my mother, Chloe had moved into Julian's place immediately. They were shamelessly parading their relationship all over social media, posting photos with captions about true love and finding your soulmate, acting like the last 4 years of my life meant absolutely nothing. I threw myself entirely into my work. My firm was bidding on a massive government contract to design the cybersecurity infrastructure for a new defense grid. I worked tirelessly, and my dedication did not go unnoticed. 2 weeks after the canceled wedding, the director of operations called me into his office. "Leo," he said, sliding a folder across his desk, "I have a project that I think you are perfect for. I want you to take the lead defense architect role on the new grid contract. It comes with a substantial pay bump, a lot more responsibility, and you'll be managing your own team. I know you've had a rough few weeks personally, but professionally, you are at the top of your game. Can you handle it?" "Absolutely," I said without hesitation. The very week my personal life fell apart, my professional life skyrocketed. I took the promotion, embraced the grueling hours, and used the complex coding challenges as a distraction from the lingering sting of betrayal. About 6 weeks after the non-wedding, Maya texted me again. "Coffee sometime? Absolutely no pressure. Just thought you might want to talk to someone who understands how insane this whole situation is." I thought about it for a day, realized I hadn't left my apartment for anything other than work, and finally agreed. We met at a quiet, independent coffee shop downtown. She was already sitting at a corner table when I walked in, 2 steaming mugs in front of her. "I wasn't exactly sure what your coffee order was," Maya said with a warm smile. "So I just got black coffee and left room for cream and sugar if you need it. Black is literally perfect. Thank you." We sat in a slightly awkward, heavy silence for a few moments before she finally spoke. "I am so incredibly sorry about Chloe." Leo. For what it's worth, almost none of the bridal party had any idea she was planning to bail. She kept the whole Julian affair completely under wraps. We were all totally blindsided. "Almost none of you?" I asked, catching her specific wording. "Let me guess. Her cousin knew?" Maya rolled her eyes. "Her cousin didn't just know. She actively encouraged it. She kept feeding Chloe all this toxic garbage about how she deserved passion and fire, and how settling for a stable, loving relationship was essentially giving up on life. It was ridiculous. Sounds like a phenomenal person," I muttered sarcastically. "Oh, she's a complete train wreck," Maya laughed, a genuine bright sound. "She thrives on drama. But Chloe eats up every single word she says." "So, are you still friends with Chloe?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Not a chance," Maya said firmly. "I told her that calling off a wedding 12 hours before the ceremony to run off with another man was cruel and unhinged. She told me I was too rigid to understand true, passionate love. I blocked her number that afternoon. We ended up sitting in that coffee shop for over 3 hours. Maya was incredibly easy to talk to. She was grounded, fiercely intelligent, and possessed this dry, sarcastic wit that perfectly matched my own. As a NICU nurse dealing with high-stress medical situations every single day, she had absolutely zero tolerance for manufactured, petty drama. When we finally walked out to the parking lot, she smiled at me. "This was really nice, Leo. Would you want to do it again sometime?" "Yeah," I said honestly. "I really would." That coffee slowly transitioned into casual lunches. Lunches eventually turned into dinners. There was no rushing, no pressure, no awkward expectations. We were just 2 people who had been caught in the blast radius of Chloe's chaotic explosion, finding comfort in each other's company. Barnaby absolutely adored her from day one. The first time Maya came over to my apartment to watch a movie, the cockatoo immediately climbed out of his cage, waddled over to her, climbed up her arm, and started affectionately preening her hair. "He really likes you," I said, genuinely shocked. "He usually hates new people." "Well, I'm very likable," she joked, scratching his neck feathers. Life settled into a beautiful, comfortable rhythm. My new role as lead architect was incredibly demanding but deeply fulfilling. I was making significantly more money and earning the respect of the executive board. Maya and I officially started dating about 5 months in. We spent our weekends exploring the city, taking Barnaby to the park, and cooking dinners together. It was a normal, healthy relationship, completely devoid of the underlying tension and constant need for validation that I had always experienced with Chloe. Exactly 1 year after the canceled wedding, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but I answered it anyway. "Leo? It's Mrs. Henderson, Chloe's mother." I froze, my hand hovering over the keyboard of my laptop. "What can I do for you, Mrs. Henderson?" "I need to talk to you about my daughter," she said, her voice sounding incredibly tired and strained. "She is not doing well at all. Okay, I said blankly. Just okay? She sighed heavily. Leo, things with Julian are falling apart. He is not the wonderful man she thought he was. She already has a 4-month-old baby boy with him, and she just found out she is pregnant with their second child. That sounds like a very difficult situation, I replied, keeping my voice entirely devoid of emotion. It's awful, Leo. Julian is barely ever around. He spends all his money at the bar, he screams at her, and he refuses to help with the baby. Chloe is completely exhausted and overwhelmed. I think she is finally realizing that she made a terrible, life-altering mistake when she left you. I am still not sure why you are calling me Mrs. Henderson. Because you were so incredibly good to her, the mother pleaded. You were stable, reliable, and kind. She threw all of that away for some stupid fantasy, and now she is paying a horrible price. I am watching my own daughter fall apart. Mrs. Henderson, with all due respect, Chloe's life is no longer my responsibility. She made her choices. You don't even care? After 4 years together, you feel absolutely nothing? No. I don't, I said firmly. She didn't just make a simple mistake. She made a very deliberate, calculated choice to humiliate me, abandon me, and run off with another man. Now she has to live with the consequences of that choice. So you're just moving on? Pretending we never existed? I have already moved on. There was a long, uncomfortable silence on the other end of the line. Maya, Mrs. Henderson finally said, her tone shifting slightly. One of her former bridesmaids. Chloe heard through the grapevine that you are dating her. It completely devastated her. My relationship status is none of Chloe's business. She needs support right now, Leo. She needs someone who actually understands her and can help her through this dark time. Then she should call Julian, the father of her children. Or better yet, she should call her cousin who encouraged this entire mess in the first place. But she is not calling me. And if she does, I will block the number. You are incredibly cold, Leo. She says you would have been a wonderful father. She cries about how she should have appreciated what she had. She can cry all she wants. It changes absolutely nothing. Do not call me again. I hung up the phone and immediately blocked the number. Maya and I continued building our life together. Around the 18-month mark, I found myself looking at rings again. But this time, it wasn't out of obligation or societal pressure. It was because I genuinely couldn't imagine my life without her. 2 years after the disaster of my first almost wedding, I took Maya to the exact same quiet park where we had our very first real conversation after that coffee date. With Barnaby sitting proudly on my shoulder, I got down on one knee and asked her to marry me. She burst into tears the good kind and said yes. We set a date for the following autumn. The planning process was a breeze compared to my last experience. We were a team. Everything felt perfectly aligned. Then, exactly 6 months before our wedding day, my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, so I answered it. Leo, please don't hang up. It was Chloe. Her voice was thick with tears, trembling and desperate. I didn't say a word. I just listened. Leo, I need to talk to you, please. Julian and I are completely over. He cheated on me. He has been sleeping with my cousin for the last 6 months. I let out a slow breath. Okay, that's all you have to say? Just okay? She sobbed into the receiver. I messed up, Leo. I messed up so incredibly bad. I should have never left you. You were exactly what I needed, and I was just too blind and stupid to see it. I have 2 little boys now, 2 babies. And I am doing everything completely alone because Julian doesn't care about being a father. He just wanted the fun, exciting parts of a relationship without any of the actual responsibility. Chloe, none of this is my problem. I know it's not, she cried hysterically. But I am telling you that I made the biggest mistake of my entire life. You were so good to me. You were stable and kind. And you actually loved me. I threw away a perfect life for a fantasy that turned into an absolute nightmare. Chloe, I'm engaged. The line went completely dead silent for 5 agonizing seconds. What? She whispered. I am engaged. I am getting married in 6 months. To who? To Maya. Another long, suffocating silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was shaking with a mix of betrayal and panic. My bridesmaid? You are marrying my bridesmaid Maya? Yes. No, she suddenly screamed into the phone. No, Leo, please. You cannot marry her. She is not right for you. I know you. I know exactly what you need. You are just doing this for revenge. You were just trying to hurt me. I am not trying to hurt you, Chloe. I am just living my life. But we were supposed to end up together, she wailed, her logic completely unraveling. Julian was just supposed to be a phase. It was something I needed to get out of my system, so I wouldn't have regrets. And then we were supposed to find our way back to each other. That is how this is supposed to work. That is the most insane narcissistic thing I've ever heard, I said, genuinely baffled by her delusion. We didn't take a break. You left me at the altar, threw a ring at my head, and had 2 children with another man. I know, and I am so sorry. I was confused. My cousin kept telling me I deserved more passion. But she was wrong. And she betrayed me. You were enough, Leo. You were always enough. I am hanging up now. No, please. I am begging you. Cancel the wedding. Call it off and give us another chance. I have 2 kids. I am a single mom. I have absolutely nobody. I need you. You need professional psychiatric help, Chloe. But you do not need me. I love you. No, you don't. You love the security and the financial stability I provided. You loved having a backup plan. You never loved me. I hung up the phone, blocked the number, and looked over at Maya, who was reading a medical textbook on the couch. Who was that? She asked, not looking up. Nobody important, I smiled. Update 2. The wedding day finally arrived. It was a beautiful, crisp autumn afternoon. The venue was stunning, the floral arrangements were perfect, and the atmosphere was filled with genuine joy. The ceremony was scheduled to begin at 3 p.m. At exactly 2:45 p.m., I was standing at the altar. Sam was standing right beside me as my best man. The string quartet had just started playing the entrance music, and the guests were beginning to stand up to welcome the bride. Suddenly, a piercing, hysterical scream echoed from the back of the venue. Stop! Every single head in the room whipped around. The heavy wooden doors burst open, and Chloe marched into the venue. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week. She had dark, heavy bags under her eyes. Her hair was tied in a messy, unwashed bun, and she was wearing a stained gray t-shirt and baggy sweatpants. She had a crying toddler balanced on her left hip and a slightly older boy clinging desperately to her right leg. The string quartet immediately stopped playing. Leo! She yelled, her voice cracking as she marched straight down the center aisle, dragging the crying children with her. Do not do this! You are making a huge mistake! I didn't move a single muscle. I just stood there at the altar, my hands folded in front of me, watching my ex-fiancée parade her chaotic, tragic life in front of 100 stunned guests. Chloe, I said, my voice projecting clearly through the massive room. Get the hell out of here right now. No, she sobbed, mascara aggressively streaking down her pale cheeks. I cannot let you marry her. You are supposed to be with me. We are supposed to be a family. Maya's father, a large, intimidating man, immediately stepped out of his pew, his face flushed with anger. Several other guests started murmuring in shock. We are not together, I said coldly, my voice echoing. You made sure of that 2 years ago. She finally reached the steps of the altar. Both of her kids were whining, completely overwhelmed by the crowd of strangers staring at them. Julian was a mistake. He was the biggest mistake of my life. I should have stayed with you, Leo, but we can fix this right now. Sam leaned over to me and whispered, Is this actually happening right now? Please! Chloe begged, dropping to her knees, the toddler on her hip wailing loudly. Full, ugly cry mode had been activated. Please do not marry Maya. Leave her right now. Come with me. These 2 little boys need a stable father, and you are a good man. We can raise them together. Julian is their father, I interrupted sharply. Not me. I know that, she screamed hysterically. But you are infinitely better than him. You could step up. You could save us. The wedding coordinator, a different woman this time, was frantically gesturing to the security guards stationed at the back of the room. They were already sprinting down the aisle. Let me make sure I understand your master plan, I said, making sure my voice was loud enough for every single guest to hear. You want me to abandon my beautiful bride at the altar, walk out of my own expensive wedding, and go play stepdaddy to the children of the man you left me for? Yes! Because we are soulmates, Leo. First loves never truly end. We had a real, passionate connection, and you just threw it away. I actually laughed. A genuine, deep laugh of pure disbelief. I threw it away? You called me a pathetic placeholder. You threw a diamond ring at my head. You tried to steal my parrot. You moved into Julian's bed the very next morning. I didn't throw anything away. You burned it to the ground. Her face contorted in panic as the two security guards finally reached her. I was scared. I was confused. Please, Leo. I am begging you. Do not marry her. She doesn't love you the way I do. This is destiny. Ma'am, you need to come with us immediately, one of the guards said, gently but firmly grabbing her arm to avoid hurting the children. Get your hands off me! She shrieked, thrashing wildly. The toddler in her arms started screaming at the top of his lungs. Leo, tell them to stop! You are supposed to wait for me! Julian was just temporary. You were supposed to be here when I got back. You are completely insane, I said, shaking my head in disgust. True love always finds a way back. She wailed as the guards physically began dragging her backward down the aisle. Choose me, Leo! Choose us! You need me! I don't need anything from you, I said firmly. Take her out. You will regret this, Chloe shrieked, her voice echoing through the hall as the guards pushed her through the heavy wooden doors. You are making a mistake. We belong together. The doors slammed shut. The screaming was muffled, then completely faded away. The room was dead silent. Some guests looked absolutely horrified. Others looked like they were watching the greatest reality TV show ever produced. Sam was biting his lip, actively trying not to burst into laughter. I looked over at the pale wedding coordinator. Let's take a 5-minute breather, get everyone a glass of champagne, and then we will restart from Maya's entrance. She nodded frantically and scurried off. I turned to Sam. Text my lawyer right now. I want the paperwork for a permanent restraining order filed first thing Monday morning. 20 minutes later, the music started again. Maya walked down the aisle, looking absolutely breathtaking. When she finally reached the altar, she grabbed my hands, smiled brightly, and whispered, Your ex-fiancé is completely unhinged. Yeah, I whispered back, grinning. That's why I'm filing a restraining order on Monday. Good. Because if she crashes our reception, I am going to physically tackle her into the wedding cake. The officiant cleared his throat, and we officially got married. The rest of the ceremony was flawless. The reception was incredible. No drama, no screaming toddlers, just amazing food, dancing, and celebrating with people who actually loved and respected us. Having a deranged ex crash, your wedding actually makes for an incredible party story. I filed the restraining order on Monday morning. Given the dozens of witnesses and the sheer level of harassment, the judge granted it immediately. Chloe was legally barred from contacting me, Maya, or coming within 500 feet of our property. Life rapidly moved on. I got another promotion at the cybersecurity firm, officially making partner. Maya and I bought a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. Barnaby got his very own dedicated bird room, complete with a massive custom cage, climbing trees, and a window overlooking the garden. It is a wonderfully normal, stable, and boring life, the exact life Chloe claimed she despised. About 3 months after the wedding, Sam called me with an update. He had heard through the mutual grapevine that Julian had finally been arrested. He was hit with multiple felony charges, severe domestic violence, assault, and child endangerment. The police had shown up to their apartment and found bruises on Chloe and the older boy. I didn't react much. I just filed the information away in my brain and kept enjoying my evening with my wife. 6 months later, the legal hammer officially dropped. Julian took a plea deal to avoid trial. He was sentenced to 8 years in state prison, with absolutely no possibility of parole for at least 5 years. He was immediately transferred to a maximum security facility upstate. Chloe's life completely imploded. Before he was arrested, Julian had maliciously drained their joint bank accounts to pay off his gambling debts. Chloe was left completely broke, drowning in debt, and desperate. She was forced to move into the damp, unfinished basement of her mother's house with her 2 young children. She had no job, no savings, and a massive gap in her resume. Her cousin, the toxic woman who had encouraged her to leave me to find passion, and who had subsequently slept with Julian behind Chloe's back, completely ghosted her. Most of Chloe's remaining friends abandoned her once they realized she was nothing but a black hole of drama and financial need. The exciting, spontaneous, passionate life she had thrown my $9,500 ring away for had come with an expiration date and a violent criminal record. I heard through the grapevine that she had tried reaching out to my mother a few times, pathetically asking for loans and claiming that I legally owed her financial compensation for wasting her best childbearing years. My lawyer sent one aggressive cease and desist letter, threatening further legal action for violating the restraining order, and the attempts immediately stopped. Exactly 1 year after my wedding to Maya, we were out celebrating our anniversary at a very high-end, exclusive steakhouse downtown. We were laughing, drinking expensive wine, and enjoying the evening. I glanced across the dimly lit dining room and saw her. Chloe was sitting at a small table near the kitchen doors. She was on a date with a much older man, easily in his late 50s, who looked incredibly bored. Chloe looked completely exhausted. The vibrant, arrogant spark she used to carry was entirely gone. Her posture was slumped, her clothes looked cheap, and she just looked profoundly defeated by life. She randomly looked up from her menu, and our eyes locked across the room. I saw the immediate flash of recognition in her eyes. I saw the deep, agonizing regret. I watched as she instinctively placed her hands on the table and started to stand up, as if she was actually going to walk over and try to speak to me. I didn't flinch. I didn't scowl. I just slowly turned my head back to my beautiful, successful wife, smiled at something she was saying, and completely ignored Chloe's existence. I didn't look back for the rest of the night. When I finally glanced over at that table about 20 minutes later, Chloe was completely gone. She had apparently walked out of the restaurant, leaving her confused, older date sitting there all alone with the appetizers. That was it. That was the end of the saga. There were no more dramatic confrontations, no closure-filled conversations, and no screaming matches. There was just Chloe, forced to live every single day with the crushing weight of her own terrible choices, while I lived my absolute best life. She chose Julian because I was far too boring, far too stable, and not nearly exciting enough. Julian turned out to be a violent, manipulative abuser who is currently rotting in a 6x8 concrete cell for the next 8 years. Chloe is dead broke, living in a basement, and raising 2 fatherless kids with an abuser's name permanently inked on their birth certificates. And me? I became a partner at a top-tier cybersecurity firm. I married the most incredible, supportive woman on the planet. I bought a gorgeous house, and I gave my screaming parrot his own luxury bedroom. I didn't have to lift a single finger to destroy her life. Karma handled all the heavy lifting, and it delivered a masterpiece, while I just sat back, existed, and thrived. The absolute best revenge in the world is living well. And my friends, I am living incredibly well.